Marcel here, joined along by WAER's Dan Cohen, who called the game for 88.3 FM today. Syracuse beats Pittsburgh 62-59 here at Madison Square Garden. And Dan, it seemed like down the stretch, it came down to one of the easiest parts of the game, quote unquote, is the foul shots. Michael Carter-Williams, 4 of 4 from the line, and Talib Zanna missed that one shot that would have tied the game at 58. I mean, the charity stripe was the difference in this game at the end.
It was a very physical game between both of these teams. Syracuse only shot 10 total free throws in this game, but made 6. And Michael Carter-Williams, who's had his struggles for most of this season, whether it's the turnovers or just bad shot selection, he made the free throws when it counted. And let's not forget, he hit a big 3 when Syracuse spread the floor for him, and he just knocked it down from straight away, no problem. Carter-Williams' free throws were the difference in this game, and Jim Boeheim said that after the game, Syracuse would have lost this game if he hadn't made those down the stretch.
Yeah, exactly. And go back to the game back in December when SU lost for the first time this year against Temple. Carter-Williams missed a good amount of free throws in that game, but Jim Boeheim was asked about that afterwards. He said, to be a good player in this league, you have to go through some struggles, and it certainly looks like that Carter-Williams is rebounding from that in a good way. Speaking of rebounding, second half for Syracuse, I mean, they just got killed on the boards, and it looked like Pittsburgh was really starting to run away with it from there.
20 offensive rebounds for Pittsburgh, 40 overall, out-rebounding Syracuse by 12, and a product of that were the big guys being in foul trouble. Rakeem Christmas fouled out of the game by Cade, spent most of the game in foul trouble too, and Jim Boeheim just doesn't trust Dajuan Coleman in games like this. He is a freshman. He just hasn't gotten the experience late in the season. He was out with that knee surgery, but the big guys being in foul trouble, they're hesitant to crash the glass and get called for fouls. There were a lot of fouls called in this game against Syracuse. The big guys were hampered by those, and Pitt took advantage. Their bigs were fantastic on the glass, and it proved to almost be the difference in this game as Pitt cut it to a single-digit deficit.
And if there was one player on Syracuse that Pitt really had to control in the second half, it was James Sutherland, and they did it. He was 6 of 6 from 3 in the first half, and Pitt really shut him down in the second half. 17 points at halftime for him. He only had 3 in the second half. I mean, that was a pretty big difference in this game, kind of a way for Pitt to really get back into it in the first place, right?
Let's not forget also, Mark, that Sutherland was out for that first game against Pitt at the Oakland Zoo. It was a 10-point loss to the Panthers. Syracuse didn't have James Sutherland in that game, and he came back, and he just can't miss here at the Garden. 20 points tonight on 6 of 6 threes, and Jim Boeheim said after the game, too, Syracuse needed a good shooting day to beat a Pitt team that is just so strong defensively.
And finally, the semifinals, Georgetown, tomorrow night, Friday night. I mean, it seems like this is the only fitting way for these two teams to really wrap up their series, isn't it?
It's appropriate, Mark, that we're going to get a third game between these two teams. Georgetown won both of them by double digits this year. Otto Porter has been dominant for the Hoyas all season long. Syracuse is going to have to lock him up, and they're going to have to ask James Sutherland to hit more of those outside shots to have a chance against Georgetown's stingy defense.
And it's going to be a fun contest Friday night right here at Madison Square Garden, Syracuse and Georgetown. Alongside Dan Cohen, I'm Marcel. Remember to keep it right here on the Sports Blog throughout the rest of the weekend, including tomorrow, for all content Georgetown before and after the game.